But right now we have the 15-time Loretta Lynn national champion, Kevin Walker, on the line, and he's a local legend in himself. Kevin, appreciate you coming on to the Imperative MX podcast.
Yeah, ain't no problem.
It's awesome, and the career that you've had, Kevin, is honestly unreal. You've been a hero, even in my heart. No matter what, I've watched you ever since I was a child, and when I think of a local legend, you definitely pop up into my mind. But I know you had a little bit of a get off back a little while back at the Verb Moto Top Gun Showdown at Muddy Creek. So how is the process coming along with with what actually happened to you? And if you don't mind, explain to the listeners what actually happened.
Well, I was battling with Donnie Adams in one of the vet classes and overjumped the spectator tabletop, and it had a lot of ruts down in the bottom swag of it. And apparently I just landed so hard that another guy told me that when I hit, that my body just kind of got ejected over the front of the bike. But it happened so fast to me, I didn't have no idea. All I know, I was racing 1 second, and this thing don't land on the ground, can't breathe.
Yeah, that's a hard hit. What actually were your injuries? I know that because I was actually on the line when it happened, so I couldn't see because it was obviously on the other side of the hill there where the spectator tabletop is. But what was the injuries, and how are you feeling right now?
7 broke ribs on the right side, shoulder blade on the right side broke across and down. I've got 1 cracked bone, my C7 in my neck, which I think is an old injury. And then the T6 and T7 vertebrae, the ribs broke off of the edge of those, which not a big deal, but you talking about ribs and shoulder blade messed up. It's been a long process.
Oh, absolutely. I especially know the ribs and even with the shoulder, I had a shoulder separation to the 4th degree, so I completely understand. But how's the process? How are you feeling right now?
It's not too bad. I still have to wear my neck brace when I'm out of the house, but I started rehab on my shoulder to get it back working pretty decent this past week. The ribs, I guess, are pretty much healed. It's still a little. I can cough and sneeze. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, that's good. But, I know that's hard with the ribs.
Yeah, it's coming along. It's going to be a while.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a long process for you for sure, and especially with the injuries that you named there. Are we gonna see you back on a dirt bike, Kevin?
Well, I mean, I don't think I can quit riding, but now I don't know about all the racing. That stuff's so far out right now, it really don't even matter.
Right, you're just focused on yourself.
I actually picked up a brand new bike the day I got hurt.
Oh wow! Did you get another RMZ?
Yeah, I got. Of course.
Of course.
A contingency was too nice not to get one.
Yeah, but you just said that you're not going to race, so I guess you're still going to race.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
He's going to race. Don't let him fool you. He's racing now.
It would be a good 2 or 3 months before I'm healed, and then it would be months and months after that before I could get my body back in shape to even think about going and riding.
Absolutely.
So it's no sense. I'm not even worried about it at this point.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable.
That's way down the line.
Yeah, and like I said, that's completely understandable. But we know you, Kevin. We know that you're going to come back. You're a racer at heart. And speaking of your racing career, some of these questions I don't know even for myself watching you throughout your career. So how long actually have you been racing, and what actually got you into the sport?
Let's see. I started riding when I was 4 on a Honda MR50. Of course, it had clutch and gears on it. And from when I was 2, I was at a track watching my brother race, who raced for 12 years before I ever started. And I mean, Mom and him would take my little 50 to the races every weekend, but I'd ride around the pits all day long. But it took me till I was about 11 years old in 1981 before I actually went to a race and raced. It was at Rolling Hills.
Yep.
Actually, and I know I finished the first moto. I don't know what I got, but then I got sick, and Mom and them thought I was just faking. But it come to find out I actually had chicken pox, so had a good reason.
Oh, that's.
But now I take it back. I actually did race a hare scrambles race, probably in about 78 or 79. But it was on my grandfather's farm, so we used to ride there all the time, and I got talked into riding that, but I think the counter shaft sprocket fell off my bike.
You weren't getting very far. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't finish that one. I had to walk out of the woods on that one.
Yeah, and that's not fun. So I think that's why I stick to moto. You know, you get too far stuck out there. I mean, you're stranded for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, but at least I knew where I was at. I could cut through the trees and get back.
That's right. That's home territory for you. So, yeah, no, that you had that in your back pocket, which is really good. Loretta Lynn's, you know, you've won a lot of championships there. It's got to be your favorite race, obviously, each and every year that you go. Was there one that was more challenging than the other, and it was more memorable for you? Was there a year that you look back on and you were like, man, I really had to charge all three motos, and I really, you know, had to work? And I'm not saying anything towards the other competitors. You were just on top. When you were on top, you were on top. And was there one year that was just more memorable than the other?
I don't know. Not really. I mean, each one has some kind of unique, crazy thing that happens. I mean, probably the most unique one, I had my gas cap fall off one moto. I think it was one of my first motos of the week. I think it might have been plus 30 class, and I made about 2 laps and was leading by like 10 seconds. Went over the finish line jumps, and all of a sudden I felt wetness. So I went over the tunnel jump, and gas splashed all over me again. So I just pulled over, took my gloves off, and I remember Davey Coombs running down there with it in his hand. It must have fell off like right up where the flags were at.
Oh, my goodness.
And he brought it down to me, but then he threw it on the ground and he said, I can't hand it to you.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
But I mean, by the time I threw it back on, I didn't even put my gloves back on. I think I come back to maybe 13th.
Oh, wow.
Or something, but I mean, it blistered my hands up, and there's been quite a few years that you weigh fast enough to win the class and you don't win any of them.
Right.
And then there's been other years that I went that I wasn't the fastest one there, but I have ended up winning.
Right. And do you think
probably
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh no, I was gonna say probably the one that is more cool than most of them was in 1987 in B class. I think I went 3-4-4 for 4th overall in 125B mod. I mean, we had people like Emig and John Kitch.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I could see the picture of it where, you know, all of us are standing up on stage. Because back then, almost everybody stayed for the awards. I mean, you'd have like 20-some people up on the stage at one time.
Right.
You know, and my mom would take pictures. And I mean, I got pictures of all of us just standing up there holding the stuff that we got. And I mean, you can go down the list of people that's there, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, and
you know, vet classes, it was just a little different because, you know, you didn't have as many fast people.
Right.
Lined up at one race. You got about 4 or 5 people that could win or get top 5, and then it's a big space.
Right.
So the B class deal was actually pretty cool, I thought.
Yeah, because that's you know, right before you go into A class, and you know those B classes are always stacked. They always are with young talent, and you know that's that age where you're just going for it and nothing really else matters. You know.
Yeah.
That's cool. And actually, looking back at the vault, I was gonna say your first year was 1985. And you got your first title 10 years later in plus 25.
Yeah, 95.
Yep. And
yeah, the 85 year, that was my first year ever. Yeah, I think I crashed and got a concussion in the first moto. Then it rained real bad that year, and it was one of the years that we did just the 2-moto format. And I think maybe I got 7th in the mud. Probably shouldn't even rode due to the fact that when I come off the track from getting a concussion, I finished the race.
Yeah.
And went to Stevie Childress's pits and parked. And my parents had to find me, and I still don't even remember riding practice that year. It was bad.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, you had Denny Stevenson in there. You had Mike LaRocco that year in 1985, the first year you went. You had Jeff Emig. You had yourself. I mean, there was a lot of good guys that went on to do really well. And actually, looking back at your career, I actually had no idea in today. I knew you did a couple of nationals, which you did 3 nationals in 90, and you did a Charlotte Supercross, and in 94. I guess my question is I knew that you were a fast guy, and obviously you showed it here in 90, still getting 20th, and on your own machine. It's not factory or anything like that. You're doing it out of your own pocket. What made you kind of stick towards the amateur scene instead of the pro scene?
No luck with it. Matter of fact, in 90, I broke both arms that February at the Atlanta Supercross.
I remember that.
First Supercross ever.
My dad tells me that story all the time because you were factory Yamaha, right?
It was back door, maybe. I was supposed to get what Damon had the year before, Bradshaw, because me and Damon kind of grew up racing together a lot, but I know Mike Brown crashed in the first heat race and broke his collarbone, was put in the ambulance, and then I crashed in the first lap of the second heat race, broke both arms. So me and Mike end up in the same ambulance together.
Oh my gosh! And you guys have been bad, and you guys are bad. Every single time you guys race against each other, ever since watching pro sport, and he would come from Steel City or High Point or whatever the race was, and come down there just to race pro sport, and that was some of the best racing I ever saw. And it's crazy that you guys go even that far back.
Oh yeah, he was in there crying, and I was over making jokes trying to cheer him up. He talked about how he was going to quit, and it was hilarious.
Oh, that's
but
yeah,
me and him had a bunch of good races over the years. But now, of course, you race with him now, and you can't even keep in sight with him.
Yeah, and actually, speaking on the topic of just racing for a very long time, because you and Mike have been one of the ones that have come out of the surrounding area. There's a couple of other ones that have been going, for as long as they've, known the sport, right? But what keeps you going each and every year? And because, like I said, many guys hang up their boots maybe after they're old, or 30 plus, 35 plus, they're done with the pro career. What's the secret? What keeps you going for so long?
Well, the thing is, I don't think there's a secret, but the problem is why do we keep going?
That's a good question.
As I'm sitting there healing up again, it's just what would make an idiot just keep punishing himself?
Right. Well, I remember Serious Racewear used to have the little stickers when they used to, when the winners used to go around the North Carolina area and South Carolina and all that good stuff. And I always had in my handlebars, it just said, never give up, don't ever give up. And if you love something that much, you just don't. You just keep going, right?
Oh, yeah, I've actually got that sticker on my Suzuki sitting downstairs right now.
Yeah. I had the one.
right on the fuel tank, and I think it's the last one I've got. I'm going to have to get somebody to make some more if I need some more of them.
Yeah, if you make some more, give me some.
Look into that. I was going to say, maybe you need to look into that.
Yeah, I might need to do it for Imperative MX and bring it back a little bit. We'll see if we get some hits coming back from the listeners. If you guys want a never give up, don't ever give up sticker. That's kind of my motto that I've always lived throughout my life and still do, and I think will continue to do. And honestly, that's so awesome. One last question for myself that I had for you before we end the call here. Who was your childhood hero or a rider that you looked up to for maybe style, technique, speed, Like, who was your local legend growing up for yourself that you enjoyed watching?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of fast people back in the '70s, from our area. Like David Bailey grew up right there at Lake Sugar Tree with us.
Right.
People like Jimmy Pig, but it'd have to be my brother Timmy.
Okay.
Due to the fact, I mean, we grew up together. All I did was watch him ride. We went to the races together every weekend. And if you look at some of our pictures back to back that you can catch in certain corners of jumps, our cornering style's the same, our riding style's the same. Not necessarily that he helped me per se, but I mean just me copying him more or less.
Right. Okay.
Because I saw him all the time.
Right. He was right there with you, and I'm sure that he helped you somewhat along the way in some way, shape, or form.
He did better than me over the years. He got third overall at a national in '78 at Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Because I think they run 45-minute motos, and he led the first one for 30-some minutes.
Wow. I did not know
and
this,
then dropped back. I think Brock Glover ended up winning the moto, and I can't remember exactly who got second. I think Hannah was in the 250 class that year, so he wasn't in it. But in between the motos, Gary Bailey took the rear shock off of his bike and actually stuck it in a cooler to cool it down in between motos.
Man, what they had to do back in the day for bike work and all of that good stuff. It's honestly crazy, and I wish we honestly had more time, because there's so much stuff that I would love to know from back in the day and your input and on all of that. But we'll have to save it for another episode later on down the road. I appreciate you coming on here. Heavy D, did you have any questions or anything for the local legend, 15-time Loretta Lynn champion himself, Kevin Walker?
No. Shoot, hey, what you said speaks for itself right there.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, I mean,
all them titles don't mean the hill of beans in the real world.
No,
come on now.
It means a little bit to some of us,
Nah, they mean a lot. I mean, it just goes to show. Like, I know, like my dad, because like a lot of people don't know, but like my dad was a mechanic, so he knew Kevin back in the day. And when how I actually met Kevin, I don't know if he remembers, but my first race was at Camp Coker in 2007, and he was there. And the pro class was on the gate, and it was so many of them. And I just went up to see my buddy Garrett and him, and he was standing there, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, is that Kevin Walker right there?" He said, "Yep, that's him." He said, "Go up to him." And I walked up to him. I said, "Hey," I said, "Do you remember him?" And he turned around, and the first thing he said to my dad was, "It's great." And they got to talking to chatting. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And like, that was one of the things that really made me fall in love with motocross. And meeting Kevin at the time too, and seeing him mixing up with them dudes out there. Because that day it was stacked, man. It was unreal stacked.
Oh yeah, them days. I mean, it wasn't nothing for Larry Ward to show up and race with us back in those days.
Yeah, the 4-stroke nationals at at Birch Creek and stuff. Larry Ward and all. I mean, yeah, it was crazy what was happening back in the day, and we're trying to get it back to that point. Myself and Heavy D, and it's awesome that that you were able to come on to the Imperative MX podcast. And man, when we catch back up in the future, we got to get you back on here, and hopefully we see you out at the races. And glad that you're doing well, Kevin. Appreciate you for doing this.
I appreciate it. Just whenever you need me, holler at me.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. Appreciate you.
Y'all have a good evening.
All right, buddy.
All right, bye.
Bye. And man, that was good to hear from the 15-time Loretta Lynn champion Kevin Walker, huh, Heavy D?
Oh man, it's always good to hear from K-Dub.
Oh, absolutely.